Okay, Regina, we're going on. Let's see here. And I am pulling us up. Hey, everybody, give us 2 seconds here. We are starting with Manifesting with Meg with Regina. Hang on, I'm just tagging Regina's people so that they can join us, join all the fun tonight. All right, so I just tagged you, Regina, so. Okay, good evening, everybody. Hi, Regina, how are you?
Hi.
We are coming to you all bi-coastal again. We are on the East and West Coast. I'm coming to you from Miami, Florida, and Regina is all the way out in LA, California. So we are double-siding the country, bringing you so much stuff that you can use to inspire your 2020 into something that's beyond amazing. So I'm going to give people a second to come on and join us. And tonight we're talking about another episode of Carpe Diem in January in the Manifesting with Meg, Conversations with Extraordinary People. We have tonight the theme in line with Magical Guide to Bliss, and it is a theme around fly, butterflies, fly, which I love because, you know, all of you guys know this. I am a butterfly. So with that said, I will get this going. Did it tag you, Regina? Did it tag?
Yeah, we're on.
Okay, we're on. Awesome.
We are on.
Welcome, everybody. I hope your January is coming along swimmingly and 2020 is actually starting off to be amazing. My friends always said to me that basically you shouldn't really make any resolutions until Martin Luther King weekend, Junior weekend, because the whole idea of I have a dream. And when you set a dream, especially along the lines with great visionaries, there's more realization to happen. So because we are all inspired by this incredible man who had a dream for a better world by virtue of what he had to offer, which was amazing, then we all are changed for it. So hopefully tonight, whatever, certainly we only, you know, stand on the shoulders of giants, but hopefully we'll be able to bring you some kind of insight, some kind of wisdom that will take you a little further on your enlightened path. I like to always say, when you hear something that really kind of clicks or there's ahas, you know, it might light up your path towards your most incredible dreams even further. So I have Regina tonight, and I'm so happy that you're with me again. She is one of those visionaries, certainly in her life as well as in business, as a business coach that you will want to know and certainly follow up with regard to anything that you have as far as, you know, dreams are concerned and vision is concerned. Regina is definitely your girl, so, or your woman. I don't want to but so I'm going to introduce you, and as always, we are going to do the intention again as far as, you know, what it is that you intend for the conversation. We definitely are not two people who lack for a conversation, that's for sure. So I always say it's always something exciting when we get to have an opportunity to talk to each other in this situation. So I really am excited that you're here, Regina, and I really I look forward to you getting to share your business expertise and your ideas around manifesting, because I think tonight the true theme that we're actually looking at is how to transform dreams into reality and basically give them the tools that they might be able to use to manifest things that make their life, you know, even more miraculous, and expecting magic and miracles, and then certainly shifting to a more positive vibration and expectation for what they want to see happen in their world. And oh, look, Frank is watching. So thank you, Frank. Welcome to Manifesting with Meg with Regina. So I want to introduce you after you do set your intention, you pick your number. Regina is, like I said, a life and business strategist who has over 17 years of experience in helping transform ordinary entrepreneurs into extraordinary leaders, which I think is the thing that sets you apart. You look to support your clients and to catapult them past even what they believe is possible for themselves. Mm-hmm. I think is something that true visionaries are able to do when it comes to, you know, getting people inspired around the possibilities in their life. So that's one thing I've always found amazing about you. you've worked with over 100 companies, and you've generating anywhere from 2 to 20 million in gross annual revenue. But you've always set out to teach the CEO and management how to properly navigate the every aspect of the areas within the company, which I think is really, really important, because they might have these incredible ideas, but at least as far as, navigating the pitfalls and then making those actually problems into and revenue solutions, I think is pretty amazing. Like I said before, we had the privilege of meeting on Facebook with our women's entrepreneur group. And so we're around a lot of really savvy business women. And certainly, we hit it off, and we've just started having a conversation, I think a little over, at least 8 months ago now.
Wow.
Certainly, yeah. So it's really wonderful to start off the year with you, this Carpe Diem mentality. And, back to the basics, I think, is really where we're going, because I think as far as the conversation that we had before, we wanted to, take our experience together to empower others to basically live more of an intuitive life, and this whole idea of allowing. So good evening, Regina. Please start us off with something amazing and inspirational while we set out to finish off the first month of the new decade.
Something inspirational. Well, first of all, I'm thrilled to be here, because I know when you and I start to talk, we can go on forever, and it's good. Just like we talked about doing this interview, it came after us simply getting on the phone for a completely different reason, into a discussion an hour later saying, hey, this is so good, and this can really enrich the lives of so many entrepreneurs and people that are trying to step into being an entrepreneur. So this is how it all came about, you guys. It was very unplanned until we planned it. My biggest intention for tonight, honestly, is, and I've said this so many times, I am so aware that this is the only life I have, that I want everybody to really wrap their brain around the fact that this is the only life you have, like really embrace it. And I think when we actually do completely, we say, oh crap, how much am I not doing? How much am I not doing that I want to do? How much am I afraid of? How much am I putting off until tomorrow? How much am I dedicated to my fear versus to my success?
Yeah.
When you really realize that, you guys, this is it. Like, when this is over, it's game over on this planet, So my intention for tonight is that when the cameras are off for you and I, that people go back and say, I'm going to do it. I'm just going to do it. Fear and everything. I'm just going to do the things I've been wanting to do for 10, 15, 20, 30 years. I'm going to do it. That is my intention for tonight.
That's awesome. And, it's funny because, usually when I do sit down, and I did my vision board for the year yesterday, and I sit down, the total power of intention and to sit down and get clear as to, and I love the idea about 2020 vision, that we're all seeing with more clarity, because we take those lessons that we've learned from the past, the hard-earned lessons, the learning curve, and then we use those to basically act as, a ladder toward the next stage. And I keep thinking with, every time I sat down to do my vision board yesterday, I was like, well, what's my next? And I think before we go to the next stage, we have to get still and realize, well, where have I come from? Where have I accomplished? Because I think that people don't generally do that, because they're constantly on this wheel of progress. It's kind of like, okay, if I'm not doing, then everything, the momentum is gone. But I think that there's something really important. And like you're saying, with regard to the whole faith versus fear, mentality, is I think that when you sit back and get still and truly see where you've come from, and regardless of how long or how short of time, then you can sit with that positive energy that you've survived, perhaps, maybe, and then you're willing to work toward a thriving mentality. So I say that to you because I know that your background is very interesting with regard to the whole faith in your notion that, this is what you're here to do in your purpose now. And the fears around when you jumped the leap of faith, to the reality that this is what you're doing for a living now.
For me also personally, whether it's work or my personal life, I can't say I haven't been afraid in life. As I got older and had a more historical evidence with God and faith, so to speak, my faith has become stronger, of course, than fear. But also my desire to be what I knew I was created to be was always greater than any fear or doubt. I always had bigger fear to get to the end of the life and say, oh crap, well, I pissed that away. Pardon my French. That fear to me paralyzes me to know that there, because the truth is there's going to be a day that I'm going to be too damn old and tired to do anything and to sit there. But imagine the chaos in somebody's mind when they're at that place and they look back at a list of things they didn't do because they were afraid. I don't want to live with that. I don't. So I would rather do things. Even if I fail, I don't care. But the fear and failure, here's what I've learned after working with so many people. Fear and failure truly is only, it means whatever you make it mean. So in my mind, fear and failure were never like big things because I don't see them as something big.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter. But if we make it something huge in our mind, it does paralyze us from moving forward. So if you make it something small, it's easier to step over it. So it's up to us to diminish its impact on our lives.
Let me tell you something that I want to add to this, because I think this might really, really impact a lot of people that may come on tonight. The whole idea that these type A personalities, especially with business, when you're dealing with people who are in business, type A, they want to control everything. They want to control all the outcomes. And what happens is, without allowing part into the paradigm, then it becomes all on their own energy and all on their own force. And what happens is you will burn yourself out. So regardless, it's not even the fear anymore. It's just the burnout, the exhaustion. So it's not even like, and you feel like a failure. You start to feel like a failure because, oh my God, I'm putting all this output out there. I'm doing so much. And then at the end of the day, it comes back to, well, what's happened, what's come to light. And you feel like you just are kind of like moving with the brakes on, I don't know if you ever like situations like that.
100%. You said something interesting, moving with the brakes on, because to be moving with the brakes on, your actual foot has to be on the brake, right? So when we move and we feel like that, it's because we're going forward at the same time as keeping ourselves stagnant.
Yeah.
The energy is so heavy. Listen, I'm a life and business strategist. I heavily depend on strategy, but I would be a fool if I told you that God and universe are not a massive part.
Yeah.
So the energy has to be aligned. You have to be in line and in alignment with everything that's going on. I know for myself, even whether my personal life with my business or my clients, when I feel aligned, I'm on fire.
Explain aligned though. Explain, because some people might not understand what alignment means. I mean, you could say a car is aligned. Your car wheels are aligned, but maybe in this context, explain what aligned is.
So, for example, I've done a lot of companies, corporate reorganization, right? And it's a scary, heavy, very devastating place for a CEO to be with. But I have had moments when I walk into complete chaos and I am so aligned with God and the universe. I have this kind of an engine inside of me. And I just go in spite of chaos, in spite of fear, in spite of them completely freaking out because they're afraid as it is. And I am just going forward because something in me knows I'm on the right track. I just know. And I go with the feeling, and it has never failed me. Like I've mentioned to you, my intuition has never, ever failed me. I have failed it. I failed my intuition a million times. It has never failed me. It's the craziest thing. Yeah. So being in aligned in any circumstances in a company or a personal life, when things need to get done with a client, giving them guidance or direction or support, sometimes sometimes I learn on the job. I don't know everything, obviously. It would be foolish for me to say I know everything. But when I feel aligned, it's like I've got all the answers. You just feel it. And whether people line up with their alignment or not, everybody knows what I mean because everybody has experienced the feeling. We all have it. We all come from the same source. We all got the feeling. We all have it. Some listen, some don't.
So I've heard it called the path of least resistance. It's the whole idea of when you're in line with your intuition, and you go toward the flow, right? You go with the flow. It's like let go and flow. There's a movement with whatever it is that you're doing, that you're going on the path of least resistance. So no one's it's like the brakes again. It's like no one's pushing back on you. You're able to move forward in such a way that it feels effortless. But there's clearly the initial effort in setting out, the whole, an object in motion, is in motion until it hits another force. But the bottom line is that even with regard to you and how you take on certain challenges in companies and with your clients, tell me a little bit more about the whole idea, how you bring people into that whole intention and that vision that you have, that or identify their vision as well.
Well, part of the key, I think, for me is I have such, I think it's even contagious belief that you can do anything you want to do, that when my clients are afraid to try certain things, my excitement and my belief and my relentless pushing them through their chaos and their fear is so contagious to them. They simply start to believe, because I'm like, you can do this, that's fine, it's going to be perfect, just watch, and just push them through it. So people take that on, people take my energy on, and my belief is so huge, it starts to diminish their fear. It first kind of balances it 50-50, and then it starts to outweigh their own doubt and chaos. And by the way, even if they're just a client, it trickles into their personal life, because they're not just the CEO or entrepreneur. They're a husband, they're a wife, they're a boyfriend, girlfriend, they're a son, they're a father, they're a mother, they're a sister, they're all these things. But it trickles into their personal life outside of work. And for me, it's absolute magic to happen when somebody can come back to me and say, oh my God, this is incredible. I was so afraid and I was so doubtful and I was this and I did it and it actually worked out. I mean, just the thrill of their energy. I mean, listen, for me, if I can get people past their fear and into the things they want to do, I thrive on that, because I've given them the experiences they otherwise would never have the guts to do. And it feels amazing for me to do that.
So let's go back to the whole theme of this conversation so we can get people going, because I think, we all start in January and we're all set. Like I said, we all have, okay, it's a new year, new decade, new everything. We're going to have a different mentality, a different vision, the whole thing. Our desires and our wants and our hopes for the whole year are quite high. This is the time when we have, hopefully, the greatest energy toward success. So we're talking about transforming dreams into reality. And I think that that's really quite interesting, because I think that having the tools, or even tools in mind as you literally navigate whatever comes up externally, is going to be paramount for anyone when they are at the beginning to the finish line. So let's talk about, perhaps maybe one of your best tools that you've used to transform dreams into reality when you deal in your own life, or even with your clients, or even with anyone for that matter.
I do believe that our why, the reason we do something, has to be greater than anything else. And I know it makes sense to some people. I've heard from other people that it's silly to say that, but here's the reason why. And I've lived it through my experience, so I can speak to that personally without any doubt. It is so it's a chaotic ride to get to what you want. It's not easy. There is opposition, there is opinions, there is obstacles. If our why is not huge enough, it is very easy to say, well, I'm just not going to follow through with this. It doesn't make sense. I'm not getting support from the people around me, or it doesn't make financial sense, or it's going to take time for me to get there, or my fear is greater. Like, for example, I know God placed me here to be of service to people and to walk alongside entrepreneurs and help them achieve their dreams. Now, people are people. We're not easy creatures, obviously. So working with so many people, and when a lot of them are in financial chaos, it's hard. People are not always nice or kind, and I understand there is a lot going on in their head with their money. I get it. So because my why is so big and I understand the source of my why, I was never able to set it down and walk away and do something else, because my why is bigger than anybody's personality, bigger than my fear, bigger than anybody's chaos, bigger than my self-doubt. It is bigger. So when we have a why that's bigger, that's the anchor that's going to keep us focused. It's just going to keep us focused.
So interestingly enough, the why, I get that. Why is incredibly important, and certainly, but it's interesting because people, when they start to identify the why, they get stuck. They're like, what do you mean my why? What are you talking about my why? I don't even know my what, forget about my why. So basically, you have to get to the point where you can identify, and this goes back to what I do, is the life purpose. Like, what is your purpose here, and how do you go about identifying? Because a lot of people, they don't have time. They think they don't have time to set out what exactly to identify that thing that gets their juices flowing, gives you the passion to actually tackle all sorts of things. Like, for instance, the service element. And I know a lot of attorneys. A lot of people, and I interviewed them to be interns with my office. I was like, why do you want to work here? That was the why. Because I want to work for the government. Okay, that's not enough for me. Well, there has to be more. So give me more. And the thing is that they weren't able to articulate because they didn't even sit back and think. So I think that when it comes to the why, and this is coming from my side of the story, I think that you have to really look at what gets your passion going. Like, for instance, are you an introvert or an extrovert? And all those great, Enneagrams and those tests that you take to figure out your personality that resonate with you or not. My question for you is, when you're looking at the life purpose and the why, and especially when people feel like they're floundering, I think that's because they don't really clarify what that is, what their desires are. How do you bring them to the place where they can step back and take a look at why they're doing what they're doing?
I genuinely believe that we all have a why, and we all know what that is. I think people push back against it because we create our own idea of what we think it should be.
What do you mean push back, though? I'm curious. Like, why do they push back against it?
Because maybe it's not what they think they should be doing.
Oh, so give an example.
It took me a few minutes to embrace my why, for example, because when I started working in corporate turnaround, I was like, crap, this is difficult. People are not nice. I understand they're in debt, but they're just not nice coming at me. I'm only 24. I don't need to deal with their stuff. And it was that. And every time I would push back and would be, well, maybe should I do something else? Should I be something else? Everything in me told me, you better get back to your place.
Okay.
So we push back against it because I believe, I don't know if we're born with 20 purposes or even 5. I think, like when you build a house, you don't have 5 blueprints, right? You have a blueprint. You're not going to take 5 different blueprints and build a kitchen based on this one, build this, a bathroom based on this one. You have one blueprint that makes sense.
Yeah.
I believe we're made the same way. But I think we start to overanalyze it and say, well, maybe this why is not very profitable, or maybe this why is not very popular, or maybe it's not going to get me to where I want to go. But the truth is, I think if we quiet down, we all know the truth of why we're here. We all do. We all do. If I genuinely, not if, I believe that there is a God for you, it may be something else, but we come from somewhere. If we are in the form of the image of the source is not confused about what it is. If we're in the form of a source, then we have a purpose, right? Why we're here. So I do, again, speaking from experience, when I quiet down myself and quiet my mind, which is not the easiest sometimes to do, I have the answers. Like, it's not rocket science. They're right there. The question is, do I take them and apply them, or do I sit there and argue?
There you go. There. And it's funny because what I have been accused of overanalyzing life, and that's it's funny because I've come to the point where my why and my who have merged to the point where that's who I am. I mean, that's who I am. I'm someone who thinks a lot. I look at things and I look for the connections and I look for the why these people are walking into my beautiful stage of as the protagonist of my life. And it's interesting because I think in many ways, as I pay attention, which I've told you many times, is really the awareness conscious element. When you start to pay attention and then you start to identify what the why is, then more opportunities to actually experience that plays out, which I think that you can agree with that, right? I mean, as far as that, how it unfolds in your life, and then the whole authenticity factor shows up as well. So,
yes. Absolutely. And plus, I think, again, from personal experience and from working with so many people, when we're genuinely aligned with the purpose, things are just easier. Life is easier. Cash flow is easier. Business is easier because you've stepped into your lane.
Yeah.
You're where you're supposed to be. And, I don't know what it takes to be older and wiser, let's call it, to get to that point. But I often look back and say, look, I wish I understood then what I know, what I understand now. I could have been, light years away from here. But, human nature, we fight it and we push back against it. And we wait our entire life for a sign when there are signs on a daily basis, for us of what to do. They're just not always convenient. They're not always comfortable. It pushes us to step over ourselves, to push through ourselves, to push through fear, to overcome a lot of the human nature that holds us back. But also, I just think there's so much magic on the other side of when you finally submit and yield. There's so much magic when you just live the life you want to live. You step into your purpose.
Yeah.
What I've noticed, actually, on a side note, people are afraid to step into the unknown because we don't know what's there.
Yeah.
We're afraid of the unknown by nature. That's why we're so stuck on holding to the past, because it's familiar. We know what the past is. It's familiar. We hold on to it. We know we're stuck to our daily job, 8 to 5 routine, because we're familiar. We may hate it, but we have safety of being familiar with it. You get up, you go to the office, you have the same people, you make the same cup of coffee, you leave at the same time. There's familiarity. We don't like change and new things because they're not familiar. We're afraid of change. So we spend our life holding on to the past, good or bad, but we hold on to it to our dear life because we at least know what it is.
Well, it's really cool that, that you say that, because today's insight in the Magical Guide to Bliss is the quote, "If nothing ever changed, there'd be no butterflies." So you wouldn't have the beauty of the world if things stayed the same and stagnant. They would not be changed. You would never have the transformational process, which makes each of us, when we submit to it and actually say that we want to grow, we want to experience, we want to have, that opportunity to see where we can take our lives, with the whole mentality of no regrets, and then falling in love with your world and falling in love with your life, rather than, looking for the negative, you look for the positive, then more butterflies will basically appear in your life because you become that which you seek. So I do love what you're saying. And I think it's very hard to shake people out of that stagnancy. And I think that fear, like you said, of change and allowing something new to come about because, they're used to and they don't know anything else. But you go back to what you were saying before, is that intuition that pulls at you and basically calls to you, that purpose, that why, is the thing that you need to feel more alive.
Yeah. But look, you and I are familiar with the works of Abraham Hicks. You actually turned me on to that, and I am now addicted. I've consumed so much content. And they call life an experience.
Yes.
And the first time I heard it, I'm like, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
What is my experience?
Yeah.
And ask yourselves, like, what is my experience? If you
I
were to
love
write
that.
it down, what is it?
Yeah.
Life is an experience. It's supposed to be combination of beautiful, magical experiences, friendships, love life, work, relationships, and business. It's just a combination of experiences. This is an experience, and I want to look back and say, I've had a hell of a ride. I had a good experience. You know, I am so passionate about it because I've had the privilege to work with so many people, and all these CEOs have so many employees. So I've been exposed to tens of thousands of people. So I see how fear robs people, just
Mm.
robs them of life. Forget that it robs them of joy. It robs them of life because a year after year after year, they're there. You know that there is no movement, and we're not happy. If we're stagnant, if we're not growing, it is true. If we're not growing, we're dying. It's a fact. So
Yeah.
if somebody's in the same place on the same hamster wheel day in, day out with no new experiences, you can see in their eyes, they're like an autopilot. That's not a life.
Well, even talking about your like, so transforming dreams into reality. Now, like even the two of us, and we could sit here and like pontificate about what people should do, but the reality is that you practice what you preach. You walk the
Yeah.
walk. You did, take the leap of faith, and I did take the leap of faith. So, and it might not be. Might be at the where we want to be or but we're on our way clearly. And as we walk and we keep walking forward on this this magical journey that we're seeing, because you're right, it is clearly an experience.
Mm-hmm.
It changes. And I have to go back to you what I love. One of my favorite things about Abraham Hicks speaks to with regard to the vortex, and it's the source, and it's the source, and where love emanates, because everything that you've ever desired in life, everything that you've always wanted, every wish is already yours. And when you think about life that way, and that you're just actually living out the reality or the fulfillment of what is already yours, it changes your perspective completely, how you see the world. And honestly, we're like we were talking about before, it goes from the asking after you understand your why to the believing, when you're almost to the knowing. And the knowing is when you can receive. So I love the affirmation. I know, like I know, like I know, the beauty of my life is on its way to me, or it's here. I know that everything I need, I'm taking care of. I know that I don't need to fear, because I'm in the cradle of God's arms. Anything that feeds your soul, and gives you that inspiration, fuels the fire of your dreams.
Yeah.
So that it'll take it from the dream state, the actual imaginative, bursts of excitement, to the reality that you're experiencing, when you're just like living in that path or that flow of wonder, the wonder that life offers to you. So I know that, certainly your story, and we've spoken to this before, but your story speaks volumes to that incredible trusting in the process and the universe to deliver to you what is waiting for you.
Absolutely. And, I've always taken bold moves that scare the life out of people around me. And so that I think they're like watching me to see like a disaster waiting to strike. Is she going to make it? Is she going to be okay? So, but that's the personality, because I want to have the experiences. I want to be happy. I want to do the things I want to do. But here's what I've noticed with age, as I got, let's call it, wiser. I've also noticed, and this is key for a lot of people, I hope, that are going to listen later. I have never, ever, ever not gotten something that I really wanted. I know it's a bigot and arrogant statement, maybe, but I did not get the things that I kind of sort of wanted. And I have a proven track record. When I wanted something bad enough, without a doubt, I always had it.
Wow.
I wouldn't get it if I didn't want it bad enough. When I look back at the things that didn't work out, and I know, honestly, I can tell myself, you didn't want it bad enough. I have zero accelerate with the things I desperately wanted,
Amazing.
because I know what happens when you go after it full force.
Mm-hmm.
When you step into the unknown, I know what experience you're talking about. I've shared my divorce with you 12 years ago, and I really stepped out into the unknown. I
Yeah.
think my kids took nothing from the house and walked out, said, okay, we're like, today is the day, so we're done. And I
Yeah.
stepped into the unknown completely by myself with 2 small children, because everything in me knew that I have to detach myself, because I will die as a human being, as a woman, as a mother. I will die in this horrible situation. It's just not good. It's not
Yeah.
healthy. I'm going to die mentally, emotionally, psychologically, and I'm going to step into the unknown, because the unknown was less fearful
Ah,
than the fear, than the
yeah.
fear of living in chaos for the rest of my life.
Yeah. Wow. I have to tell you, it's so funny because your situation involves your relationship and my situation involved my job. And I was like, you keep me here, I'm going to die. I just am going to wither away, and everything I loved about myself is going to disappear. And I was like, at least the bray of my heart, like the call, I was like, I can't allow that to happen, because of the who I am. Like, I can't allow. So like what you were saying, it soon became, you squeezed out so much by what you've known that the unknown looks so much better. You're just like,
Okay, but
it's gotta be better than this.
if you don't mind,
Yeah.
share with people who are on my page and not familiar with you, what you walked away from, because I don't want people to think, well, that you walked away from some measly 8 to 5 job. I mean, you walked away from what people
So,
strive to accomplish their whole year. I mean, you made a massive decision. I mean, very inspiring what you did.
some people think I'm crazy too, but the bottom line was, after almost 20 years of working as a prosecutor with Immigration and Customs Enforcement, and at first INS, I basically walked away from that career to start all over again. And so, I have to tell you, I mean, there were moments in time where I was feeling very like, why? I think that was another kind of why. The like, why is this happening? Rather than my why is this happening? And then when I stepped back and I was seeing things unfold, and just things that I was just like, God, but I believe more in it was actually made me look in the mirror and say, I believe in myself so much more than what they're telling me who I am. And when you say that, you just can't stay where you are if it's not feeding you, where it's not aligning with you, like you were saying before. So, walking away from the benefits, I had 10 more years of, until I could retire. I just was sure that if I stayed there for 10 more years, I would not be the same person that I love, and what I love about myself might be gone. So I gave myself an opportunity to see what I'm made of, literally, by stepping out, and then actually challenging my support, which, in the end, turned out to be, I mean, I'll be married 20 years this next month in February. And we've gone through a lot of ups and downs. Certainly when I lost my mother, that was a huge challenge because of how it impacted me. And even leaving my job was another challenge. But, we're still, working our way, navigating whatever it is that we're supposed to navigate, and how we're ending up, we're stronger than when we started. And, it's just the whole idea of what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. But so, yeah, so speaking to that, leaving something that was clearly unknown, I did it very well. I had a great reputation with my judges and with my colleagues, and I enjoyed the interactions with that. But as far as like my professional aspirations and what I wanted and my intentions for myself and my why, it wasn't going to be found there. So I had to leave, which, is certainly interesting. And then the same thing applies to you. What happened with regard, and the same thing that goes with you, with regard to what happened as far as you making the choice to basically leave with just the clothes on your back and your young children. So I think that everybody certainly has that moment in time where they have to look at themselves and say, is this who I want to be? And is this what I'm going to like hold as my truth? And when you say no and you say yes to something greater, like you were talking about before, it changes everything. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, I think it's fascinating. And I think that, it certainly opens up the opportunities. And what you were saying before is everything that you've wanted bad enough. And I was laughing because yesterday was one of my favorite author, Paco. He says, when a person really desires something, all the universe conspires to help that person to realize his or her dream, which is true. Like, how strong is your intention? Have you identified it? It's true. I mean, you've
It's
seen
very
it
true.
over and over again, Regina, right?
Um,
You've seen that over and over again, that whole
I've seen that
unfold.
over and over. Yeah, because it genuinely works. It just does. Because when your desire is so pure, I believe it's connected to the source. And when the source has your back, I mean, you have to be a fool to think you're going to fail if you really do your part.
Yeah,
It's not possible. I am sure you're familiar with Wayne Dyer. I'm
yes,
sure you're familiar. I love him. I think such a loss to just to us that this one incredible man is no longer here. And he talked about how he was a professor, and I think he was a
yes,
year or a few months away from getting the, what is it called, the tenure, or what is
yes,
it called? But
yes,
and he was talked about walking across some bridge, and he said it just dawned on me that I'm gonna walk away. And he said everybody told me, "You're nuts! Like, you're there, you're set for life, you're there. What are you doing?" He said, "I walked back into the school, I walked back into the dean's office, and I said I'm out, basically, in so many words."
yeah.
And look at his life, the things he's done, the lives he's touched. Where 99% of people would say, "Look, I've practically got my set, my retirement set. Why would I risk any of it?" But the life he led afterwards is
Yeah.
so rich, and the lives he's impacted because of one man's decision. It's incredible. I
So
love I love this.
he went from a very small classroom in a university to a very large classroom in the world. And the information and the context that he actually was able to bring to the masses, to enlighten so many more by virtue of his incredible desire to learn and just like understand the machinations of this world, of this
Mhm.
universe, which, I got to meet him. I met him in May of like 2014. I went to a Hay House conference in Fort Lauderdale. And, one of the coolest things that he used, this is before I even published my first book. And actually it speaks to, I think, the knowledge when he says, when you're actually wanting to bring something, this goes to transforming dreams into reality. So anyone who's interested in this concept is that whenever you want to write a book, he says, make the cover of the book first,
Yes.
so that you see the cover in front of you. So it kind of is that thing that eggs you on.
Mhm.
So it brings the book to life. It's more likely, they say goals are more likely to come true when you write them down. It's the whole idea of when you use that creative energy to actually bring this incredible book cover and then follow it with all the content therein. So that was, I remember I had gone up to him and I actually showed him the book cover that I made. And at the time, my memoir was called The Sunrise of My Soul's Bliss. And it's since turned into Beautiful Butterflies, How My Life Awakened Me to the Sunrise of My Soul's Bliss. And he had said, well, I asked him to sign it, actually, which is, why would I haven't signed my book? But, but he signed it, and I'm grateful that he did, because basically it was that one notion that, things that you wish for, like meeting someone that you admire so greatly, will come to life, because I am fascinated by those people that inspire me. It's like I like to be around that energy because I take it on and I invest in it myself, which is, something that I always encourage other people to be around, people that are dreamers and that are like, oh, I lost you again. Anyway, so tell me a little bit about an instance that you had when you were able to see something that was a dream come into reality for you. Oh, I think she's frozen. Hang on a second. So we have a little technical difficulty. I imagine this is for the opportunities to just get her energy, and maybe something of stillness. So maybe we can all take a moment now to perhaps think about those opportunities in life that, or those dreams that you have in life, where you, this year, perhaps this 2020, you're ready to bring it to fruition and go another level with those dreams that you have, and perhaps take that to the next level by virtue of, something that you want to set down in writing, or maybe creative art. So we have Regina back. Hi, Regina. Can you hear me?
Hi. Yes, I'm so sorry. You asked me a question. I didn't hear it, then I dropped off. I apologize.
No worries. I just asked the audience to contemplate perhaps maybe a dream that they might have that they want to put down in written form, or perhaps creative form, that they could use to help them transform that into something more than just a concept in their head, like perhaps the idea to push it forward. So I asked you specifically when we went offline, what was something that you put down in writing, a goal or an aspiration, or perhaps maybe even a book cover, who knows, that you've seen come to fruition after, basically, having that idea, and then now at the end, you actually have seen it happen.
My desire has been, so I worked for many, many, many years together with a mentor. And when our vision, so I wanted to go off on my own for a while because I felt that our visions are no longer aligning. And I stepped actually out of that into my own business, into my own, into the way I want to do things about 9 months ago. So that was my thing that I really wanted to do. So that was my first huge thing in my life, was my divorce. That was a massive decision. And this was also a massive decision. But I knew that it feels aligned. I had written it down. I was thinking about it for a while, because that's a big decision. I'm not saying a big decision takes 30 seconds to make. I don't want to diminish and disrespect the process. So that was my thing that I've seen to come to fruition. But you mentioned to the audience to write down the things that they want. What I've also noticed serves me well is when I write down honestly, because it's a very intimate letter, so to speak, a very intimate writing. When I honestly write down the things that keep me stagnant, the things that keep me fearful, and then I write down honestly why. Is it my self-esteem? Is it my lack of confidence that I can do this? Because listen, I'm not immune to that. Maybe I've learned better how to navigate it, but the feelings come up. So it's extremely important to be honest with yourself and say, I'm afraid because of lack of support. I'm afraid because I don't have the confidence. And when those things come up, when you have that list, and I'm not saying share it, it's yours, it's personal, it's intimate, it's yours. Don't share it with anybody if you don't feel comfortable. But when those things come up, like fear comes up, and it's on the bad list, so to speak, don't touch it. You already know that it's bad for you, but make the list of those things that keep you stagnant and honestly answer why. Why are you afraid? It's important to look at those things on a page.
It's I think that'll help identify where you can move yourself forward too. Certainly, the fear generally is to find false evidence appearing real. If you're sitting down and looking at what makes you afraid and or stagnant, and the why, like you were speaking to before, maybe that's something that could help, move past the block so that you can see perhaps a little clearer where you need to go instead. That's very good. I like that. I like that idea. That's very good, because I think that, when you actually identify, it's no longer something you're scared of. And I think that is something that
that's right,
people can benefit from, certainly, as far as, identify the fear so that you have more of an ability to move past it. And I think that's great, or replace it.
But we talk about, let's say, when it comes to a relationship, we talk about what's your non-negotiable, right? We say that all the time. What's your non-negotiable? So you can have a non-negotiable in life. You can say that being afraid to do something new is my non-negotiable. I'm not going to touch it anymore. If we can do it with relationships, why can't you do it? Why can't you do it in your life with your life? Why can't you have non-negotiables in your life that I'm not gonna negotiate with fear anymore. I'm just not gonna negotiate with fear. I'm not gonna negotiate with self-doubt. I know it's there. I'm gonna put it to the side. I'm still gonna do it. I'm not gonna touch it. I'm not gonna discuss it with myself. I'm not gonna engage with it, because ultimately you have the choice, right? Am I gonna sit on it and sleep with it and think about it, or am I just gonna be aware that it's there and that's it. Still do what I gotta do. So
So I just went to Oprah's 2020 vision, focus on your life 2020 vision, this last one, and she had Lady Gaga as her guest.
yeah.
And Lady Gaga was speaking. She was very candid. I mean, she was very honest with regard to her mental challenge, her mental illness. And one of the things that she said, and I think this might be very helpful to anyone who's dealing with the whole stagnant of the past, like what you taking with you, and those incidents that you might feel have limited your ability to move forward with this effortless flow. And she said she's looked at her pain and looked at her process with radical acceptance, and with whatever shame she has, she puts it aside in a small box. It's like, look, that's in my life. I accept that shame has been a part of my life. I accept what has happened. I can't change it. It is what it is, but I can move forward in a different way, accepting who I am with all my, wonderful qualities and all my other qualities, radically accepting. In fact, in her situation, she has undergone a lot of pain from how her body's responded to the situation. So, but I love the idea about the radical acceptance, because when you accept what is, you aren't fighting it anymore. You're not resisting what has happened, so that you are free to move, like free to move about the country. You're free to move on. Because it's not holding you down. And I think that comes to a certain point with what you're talking about as far as writing down why you're so fearful, so you at least you can just accept it, and then you can move, you can accept it and allow it to pre-process, so that you can move on to something greater for your life, which is a beautiful thing.
But a lot of it is, if we really analyze fear and where it comes from, a lot of it is, what will somebody think, right? Well, what is somebody going to think that I left my marriage? What is somebody going to say or think when I am, in your case, leaving such a respectful position? What is somebody? That is the truth of why we go into this tailspin of chaos, because immediately we go to judgment. We can cover it with fear, with self-doubt, with all these things, but ultimately 99% of it, what are people going to say? Who cares? People have their own stuff.
But how did you get to the point where you're saying who cares, though? How did you get from the what are people going to think to then who cares? There was a process there, and I think that's very, very important that you identify this. And this is one of the really big things I think that you can share today that'll help people, basically live the life that they want by virtue of releasing the judgment.
Because people next to you who may be judging you have the same amount of fear, chaos, shame as you do, if not more. And when I realized that they're just as confused, just as fearful, just as doubtful, just as broken as I am, if not more in some cases and less in other cases.
Yeah.
And they've got their own stuff. Meg, I genuinely, I know it maybe sounds, I don't want to sound rude or arrogant. I genuinely don't care. And the main reason why I refuse to live my life based on how somebody else thinks I should live it. At what point?
Yeah.
But when we live a life like that, it's because we made it okay. When people say they're judging me, I always tell people, listen, you're responsible for your life. If you have certain circumstances in your life or situations or certain types of relationships, look at yourself first. What are you giving people that tells them it's okay to judge you openly? I've told people, you can have an opinion behind my back. Don't my face. I swear to God, I don't care. You can talk about behind my back as much as you feel like. I just don't want it to poison my mind. And I'm not upset if they do. I'm not upset. But I got to tell you, my way inspires them at some point. They're like, man, she really doesn't care. It must be pretty liberating to live that way.
Well, and also because you don't give anybody that kind of power or control over your mind, and you're freeing yourself. So you basically go, well, you'll see that you'll be happier. Like when you really even when you really kind of eliminate your need for external approval from someone else, basically approving of your qualities, your talents, your gifts, your everything, then it becomes, oh my God, well this, I love what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy interacting with all these, and I know that I've done the work. I've studied. I'm not lazy. I have a genuine interest in learning more about this. So what you bring to the table becomes something that makes you happy, and it has nothing to do with whether or not you're making other people happy. It just happens to be that some people are made happy because you're like infectious with regards, you're contagious with regard to how you interact with others.
But also, I've realized who's made me the judge to judge somebody, and who's made them the judge to judge my life.
Right.
Really, I mean, if you really think about it. But also, this was a main key point for me. I have noticed historical evidence has proven that people that think the way I think now, they're so busy being happy, they could not care less what I do. They
Right.
really don't. They're
Right.
busy with their stuff. They're busy with their mission. They're busy with their life, their business, right? Busy writing down their goals. They could not care less. The people who have more time on their hands are the people who have time for judgment and all that stuff. And usually, a lot of that comes from their own insecurities. I know that because they want to do the things other people fearlessly do. It's a fact. It's just what it is.
So if you become the visionary of your own life and you become responsible for how you show up in the world and what you do and how you experience the world and how you interact, and you really keep in mind your footprint on this world and how you want to be showing up, it changes the story. It changes the narrative, because then you're really taking credit. You're taking accountability for everything that you do. And everything that comes from that is a great celebration, basically. So that's freedom, what you're talking about. That's a huge freedom. And I think that more people that are empowered to basically be sitting in, non-judgment, and not caring really what other people think, they are able to accomplish so much more in their whole experience. And that is, with integrity and character, and be able to look themselves in the mirror. So I think that your point is very well made with regard.
Not only that, but look, Meg, you and I have magnificent things to say to our children when we can say, honestly, do the things that make your heart smile. They can look at you and say, Mom, well, you didn't do them. You're like, hell yeah, Mom did them. And so can I. We can actually say these things to people. And it's true for our lives. Listen, I'm not saying we didn't fail along the way, hurt ourselves, scraped our knees. Nobody's saying that. I may be all banged up and scraped up from this experience of life, but man, I've got an experience of life.
Right.
Well,
nobody's supposed to be in a pristine, isn't there a quote that's like, nobody's supposed to show up in a pristine body,
right.
or anything like that. They're just, that's just not it. That's just not it. That's not it. Everything that happens is an opportunity to learn something more about yourself. And if you look at life that way, perhaps maybe life will look differently to you. And I think that that's really, really exciting. And I think as far as coaching is concerned, the both of us for that matter, it's funny because one of the things I always say, don't rely on me. I'm just helping to guide you by you making a determination as to what it is that you want. And I have the tools, or I can have the, maybe some wisdom that I've gained from my life experience to help you along. And I think that is really, truly what you bring to the table as far as the business aspect is concerned, because you've seen the pitfalls and when you have those experiences, then you can help others to do differently and give them the tools. And I think that's another way you can help transform dreams into reality, especially if you're a budding entrepreneur who sees, the desire to bring their business and whatever their service is to the world, to another level. And I think that is certainly, the inspiration that you believe in the concept, to believe in the person that you can bring along. with you.
Mhm. Yeah, not only that, but because I've learned of my gifts so early on, I feel I'm one of the lucky few and blessed few, but I had to fight for it because I didn't. It was like putting on, you're a woman, you'll understand. It's like putting on those shoes and you're like, well, they don't fit perfectly, but they look great right now. But
Oh, yeah. I'll deal with the pain.
yeah, a year later, you're like, finally they fit, like perfect size after I stretched them out. So same thing when I stepped into my purpose. But I think when you know you're in your purpose, it fuels you through, it pushes you through the hard stuff.
Yeah.
And people are always watching, especially our kids are always watching.
I think so.
And when they see that you believe anything is possible, I've always been the personality that, hypothetically speaking, don't try this at home, kids, that I've always considered myself the personality. Well, I'll jump out of an airplane without a parachute. Again, don't do this at home. But I know I've got the mentality, it's okay, I'll pick one up on the way down. I mean, this is not for the weak of heart, but I've always lived like that.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe that's why it's helped me reorganize people out of debt, because they'll tell me, oh my God, the doors are shutting down. I'm $5 million in debt and people are coming after me. I'm like, no problem. I got this. So because they feel the ease of my confidence, and I really have the ease of the confidence that I got this, it elevates them to the point, well, she sounds crazy, but maybe she got this. It gives them the belief.
So I have a mentor, his name is Dr. Habib Sadeghi, and he tells in his story, The Clarity Cleanse, he speaks to this instant. He's a doctor, and he actually came upon a car that was in a car accident. And this is very interesting because he went up to the individual who was hurt, and he said, you're fine now. You're fine now. Everything is fine now. All the bad has passed. So now we're just going to get you healed. We're going to put you on the road to healing. So instead of panicking over, am I going to die? Is my life over? And he calmed him down.
Yes.
So that his body could kick in and start the healing process.
Yes.
So the panic that would exacerbate the wound, because it puts the body in the fight or flight, the cortisol, the stress hormones. Stress is not good unless you have a bear running after you, and that'll get you moving a little faster. But the bottom line is, when you calm yourself, and I think that that's a beauty of a very good coach, is that calm the person down to see that there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and then help you walk toward the end, which I think is exactly what you spoke to. The whole idea of you're jumping out of a plane and maybe perhaps someone will throw you a parachute on the way down is not necessarily the mindset of many people, while it's the mindset of yours. But that's the beauty of someone who's seen a positive result come about by stepping back and just calming the person down.
But also, I always ask people when they start to lose their sanity, what's the worst that's going to happen? I mean, truly, if it's not a life or death type of a situation, but realistically, if we really analyze the situation, what is the worst that's going to happen? And usually when they think about it, the worst is not as bad. The worst is not the worst.
But even like, it's so funny because a lot of things that people go for, like for instance, right now, my nephew is applying for colleges and he's getting into some really good schools, but some of the ones that he might have wanted initially, he didn't. But the bottom line is that when you step back and you said, okay, this is what's happening. You release that, like the tight, it's like the soap on the hand mentality. When you grab it, it's going to fly out. When you let it sit there and just deal and allow and accept, and then it just sits there. And it could be you. So I definitely see the beauty of someone helping another person shifting the perspective. Now, I did want to speak to this because I know that you're having a masterclass for the business-minded entrepreneurs, and I know that you're having it. I want you to speak to that because I know that I want to. Those of you who are entrepreneurs looking to start maybe having a different perspective toward your business or to your goals. I know that Regina is someone who can certainly help you to another level. So why don't you speak to that, Regina?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is on the 28th. It's a 2-hour masterclass. It's going to be recorded, but I do encourage you guys to attend live. So this, I wanted to make a really low cost offer for those that are not, just don't even know how to invest more to start growing yourself and your business. So this is a business blueprint masterclass. It's going to be of epic proportions. I have 60 or 70 slides. We're going to talk about business strategy, definitely help you set up a 12-month blueprint, because you need to have a solid game plan. You need to know where you're going. I'm going to marry that correctly and show you how to marry that correctly with the right mindset so you can actually succeed in your business, help you position yourself for profitability so you can actually have a scalable business.
Yeah.
So mindset, strategy, plus a year's worth of blueprint, because if you don't know where you're going, how are you ever going to get there? So it's only $49. Like I said, very low offer, low entry cost. This is a no-brainer. And everybody who attends live will be entered into a drawing, and 2 people will win a 90-minute strategy call with me. Those are $350 to $300 each that I charge for. So 2 people are going to win 2 strategy calls, 1 per each. But it's the 28th. I think it's 4:30 p.m. Eastern.
Okay.
I'm going to put a link. You guys can register. It's just a payment link. I keep things simple. There is no rocket science project sales pages. I don't do that. I encourage you not to do that either. Super simple. So it's for an entrepreneur. So especially if you're at the beginning stages and you're not worried about making a larger investment into coaching, this is ideal for you.
Yeah. So we're going to go ahead and put that link in the feed after the manifesting is over. I definitely want to point this out, because I think that, this is one of the key attributes of a person who I would consider extraordinary. And I think that this goes to the whole, in a world that we're like so divisive, that we're all divided and we're all posturing and we're all sitting on our sides of the fence, and we don't want to open the conversation. I think that extraordinary people are those who seek to collaborate with the information they have learned to bring others along with them. And I think that certainly, I know with regard to you, Regina, you certainly have that mindset where when you work with somebody, you have a significant interest to seeing them succeed. And I think that there is something really, really wonderful in that, and especially along the ideas of your passion and your inspiration. And I think that's one of the things I actually liked most about you when we first met, because I think that you have, a very desirous to learn, certainly. But at the same time, you have a uncanny ability to teach. And I think that that's something I wanted to set out, because if anyone's interested in doing this course with her, I think that you will, in fact, learn. And it will be of great value if you're certainly an entrepreneur. So I wanted to, set that out as well. But on this point, I don't know if you want to speak to that as well, but I wanted to go back to the intention that we started with, because we are over the hour now, and I really want to get to the point where, I'd like we said at the outset, you and I, we could talk magic and miracles and expectations forever, and we can truly see. And I love this, because they sound that and this is back to Martin Luther King: on the shoulders of giants we can see further, because he followed his why. Our country and our world is a different place, and I think that that is what makes a huge difference when you're dealing with extraordinary people. And certainly Martin Luther King Jr. was one, and he certainly made the ultimate sacrifice with regard to that by speaking his truth and gaining people the opportunity to speak theirs as well. Back to the intention of this, to help, give people tools to transform their dreams into reality. I want to give it back to you, Regina. Go back to your intention for the conversation today once more.
The intention is for people to walk away and finally make a decision that your opinion is the only one that matters. Your desire is what matters. Your why is what matters. Of course, as long as it's ethical and it helps people, doesn't hurt anybody. I want to make the disclosure. I don't want to get off and go rampant, with getting crazy. But as long as we're aligned with what's right and wrong, I want, I often say that, and perhaps people that are watching have heard me say it, but I really embrace it. Life is not a dress rehearsal. And I want to say it again because I think it's so important. Life is not a dress rehearsal. This is the main performance. And most people genuinely never get on the stage of life. And I always ask my clients in private, and I make them answer me one-on-one because it's such a, they have to be very transparent and very raw and very honest, with no judgment from me whatsoever, with regardless of what they tell me. I always ask them, are you getting on the stage of life? When the curtain of life goes down, and I'm asking people that are watching or will watch later, when the curtain of your life goes down, do you know that you were there, you got the standing ovation, you have left your heart, your soul, your sweat, your everything on that dance, on that stage of life? Or did you never get on it to begin with? Did you, because we all have the answer. We all have the answers. So life is not a dress rehearsal. This is the main performance. Go out there, act your heart out. Fall off the stage from exhaustion because you've done all of it. But it breaks my spirit when I watch people held back by fear, because I have worked with people who are much, much, much older, 70s, 80s, and I have listened to list of regrets, and I've heard grown, mature men, very aged, look at me with a lot of regret and saying, I have missed out on life. And you guys, that is heartbreaking.
Yeah.
That is, I'm having chills as I'm saying it. I've watched in the face of people, in the eyes of people, physically one-on-one, when they told me there are so many things I didn't do. And I can give up anything to go back and even do a percentage of them. How foolish of me.
Wow.
To care about what anybody thinks, to have cared about what anybody's going to say, to have cared about anything besides care about the fact that I wanted to do these things. And now I will never. And the fear, talk about fear. That is the fear.
Yeah.
That is fear.
Yeah.
So I don't want to.
That is amazing. And I think that, we're in this roaring 20s, they'll like talk about the roaring 20s again. And a lot of people, the flappers and back in the 1920s, and they lived life and they took it on and they lived passionately and they lived, they sucked the marrow out of life, and it's a different mentality and approach, and they, dance like with abandon, and they listened to music and they were a part of this world. And I think that all of us going into this next decade, this 2020s, with all the technological advances that we're having this conversation on two sides of the country, and where we're able to reach out to people who may never have been able to have this kind of conversation before being a part of that. I think it's fascinating, and I think it's timely, and I think that everything that you said, that you can't come to the end of your life looking back saying, I shoulda, coulda, woulda. You have this opportunity today to basically, live the life of your dreams and embrace it. And I think, Regina, for pointing that out. That's an incredible intention, that maybe today this will be the beginning of everything that you could imagine, of all the dreams that you want to come to fruition, and then the universe will conspire in your favor, as Qualo says. So, normally I would ask you to, set out the number with regard to your intention and what page you would pick from the magical guide. I don't know. I don't think you have the book with you, but go ahead, pick a number and I'll go ahead and read it since you don't, but pick a number that you would think that would correspond to what you had just spoken to.
Let's do my birthday number, 13. Lucky 13.
Lucky 13. So lucky 13 is... Okay, so be bold, which is very interesting because you spoke to that. Whatever you do or dream you can, begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. And that's from Goethe. And this is the insight. You live in a world of connections. Whether you like it or not, your life is intertwined with that of others. And thank goodness, because you need other people to help you to move forward in life and realize your dreams. Technology has allowed you to reach out for miles and miles. You can meet people all over the world with a click of a button. Information and resources lie at your fingertips to help you tap into your source. The following question remains: are you bold enough to commit to your dreams, to start the process by doing the work necessary, and to engage in the important conversations to begin? When the spark of a genius awakes you from a dormant life, you are inspired and start to act. When you release your ideas into the universe, there is no telling where your own brand of innovation will take you. When you allow the magic of possibility to take hold in your life, the path opens up and you can see the way. You may be able to almost see the fruits of your labor. Who would give up now? Courage is what you need to succeed. Boldness is an attitude that will aid you as you take the risks necessary to be magical. All it takes is a commitment to a new reality. Then get ready to see how the universe will provide the connections to make your dreams come true. There you go.
Everything we talked about.
Everything we talked about. So, and the inside of the magical key is to make a connection today. So hopefully all of you were able to connect to us and take something that was able to take you to the next level in your life. I do hope that. That is always my intention, that we bring some information to you that makes a huge difference so that you can go live the legacy of your own imagination. I, as always, give Regina the final word. Thank you so much, as always, that you would have this conversation with me. I think it's been incredibly eye-opening, and I'm sure, I hope that, my intention is, I hope that many people take something from it as well. So I'll give you the last word, my friend.
Just what I've said, I want all of you to experience the freedom of living your purpose, to experience the freedom and the joy of doing the things you want to do, and no longer be in bondage by opinions, thoughts, judgments. They have their own stuff going on. Don't worry about them. You do your stuff. Do your stuff, and just be the way you're supposed to be, and things will line up.
Yeah.
It will.
I totally agree. So I just want to say thank you again, Regina. To all of you out there in this second manifesting of the year in January, remember, you are the deliberate creators of your life. Let your soul be guided by your dreams, and let's all together raise the positive vibrations on this planet so that we can all live our bliss. Enjoy the magic and miracles. Shine your beautiful light. And until February, manifest the most beautiful life you can imagine. And don't wait for tomorrow. Do it today. So blessings and bliss. Thank you again, Regina. Thank you all, and have a wonderful, wonderful evening. Good night.